Welcome to today's podcast. I want to tell you that profit is just one well-placed comma away. Welcome to the Intentional Success Podcast, where we unpack the top strategies, explore business trends, and drill down into best practices to help your live events production business grow and scale on purpose. I'm your host, Tom Stimson. Welcome back, everybody. We just wrapped up another Jumpstart event, the third of the year in November. We went to Fort Worth, had a great time, lots of management, lots of strategy discussions, a lot of conversations about scalability, which is, my primary focus. Big news from this event is I've laid down the gauntlet. I've said the biggest obstacle to consistent profitability is our rental mindset issue. We've got to quit thinking like rental people, and this is my focus. This is my plan for 2025, and I'm going to start telling you how to do it step by step. So if you think like a rental company, then you're going to make transactional choices that are going to undermine your ability to be scalable. And I want you to be scalable. I want you to make money 12 months out of the year, right? I want you to make more money when you're busier. Right? I want you to be scalable, but rental gets in the way. So here are three things that you need to do to be scalable. Number one, you've got to fix your pricing model, right? You need to make a profit on all your variable cost of goods sold, and you need to make a bigger profit, which basically means you've got to raise your rates on talent. We're going to talk about that more during this podcast. Number two, you've got to reorganize your full-time staff so that 100% of your full-time team is focused on generating profitable revenue, planning the execution of those projects, and keeping the business machine in good health. Everything else is execution of shows, which is your primary business, but we've got to take care of the business first. And the third thing that you're going to have to learn how to do to be scalable is turn down business when you're busy. Windfall revenue should never get in the way of selling and planning future work. If it does, you're undermining your scalability. You're taking windfall jobs at a lower profit margin, and you're wrecking your pipeline into the near future. Right? And we've seen it time and time again. If you live feast and famine, the famine is what's going to get you. Right? Now, all of this is right here in my book. Here's the screenshot. Balance. How to build a scalable business so you can, I can't remember the name of my own book. Balance, how to build a scalable business with less stress and more profit, right? So you can get a copy on Amazon or listen on Audible, however you consume things, but I know not everybody's read the book, okay? And that's okay. This is why I do podcasts. This is why I host workshops. This is why I coach peer groups, because we all learn differently. But right now, I'm going to teach you something important about scalability. For the next couple of podcasts, I'm going to focus on the three tenets I just described: labor pricing, internal organization, and revenue selectivity. Today, I want you to raise your labor rates for 2025. I have heard all of your objections on why you can't do this, and I think the upside is vastly more valuable than the potential downside. I reject your objections. You have to do this. Hear me out. Now, my rule of thumb is simple. You should be charging at least twice what your replacement cost is for talent. And your replacement cost will probably be more than the average freelancer day rate. Okay? That's not replacement cost. Your replacement cost is probably going to include traveling out of town talent to your home city because you have a weak talent pool at home. That would be replacement cost. Okay. Not every job needs all the extra costs, but all of the jobs have to help pay for the extra costs of getting the right talent on the job. And if you spend all of your time trying to find people who are cheap enough to come in under your price so that you don't lose money, you're losing way more money than you think you are. Right? This is where the comma comes in. If your day rate charge for talent doesn't have a comma in it, you are subsidizing your customer's profit instead of your own. The cost of sourcing talent for all of your events exceeds what you are charging. And the fact is, Your customer can't do this for themselves. So we're giving them a discount on something they can't do for themselves. It's insane. Okay. Now, I can hear your sales team screaming already, right? Again, I've heard all the objections. Instead of explaining all the reasons why this is the right thing to do, I'm going to spend the rest of this podcast telling you what happens to companies that commit to this course of action. Are you ready? Number one, after the initial panic, you're going to realize that your customers actually expect costs to go up and were wondering when you were going to do it. It's all about how you have the conversation. And yes, your customer who has an event every year is going to find out that all of a sudden that event is going to be 10% more than it was last year. Great. Throw in a little extra equipment discount one time to help ease the pain. Hey, I cannot give you everything you had last year at last year's pricing, but I can do this, right? Customers will go, okay, thanks for helping me out. Look, you've raised rates before and survived. Raise them so often that it becomes normal. Rip off the Band-Aid. Number two, when you raise your rates, you're going to realize that showing detailed quotes with line item pricing is ridiculously transactional. It's the most rental thing that we do. Even showing a breakdown of talent, equipment, and expenses is unnecessary for 80% of your clients, right? Suddenly, you will be selling your ability to get shows done instead of a rental plus labor transaction. The real value is in the outcomes. Once you start making dramatic changes in how you price things, don't show the customer your math. Just show them what they're getting and what it's going to cost and learn how to negotiate. 3, it's going to quickly become obvious that the only logical way to price a show, again, not a rental transaction, but an actual show, is to add up your costs and add up an appropriate margin to that total. Your margin needs will vary depending on how busy you are, how valuable the customer is to your overall business, and how risky or complicated a project actually is. Don't worry, someone will always undercut your pricing. Get over it. Better margins means you will make more money with less revenue, and you're going to do it with your best customers instead of transactional customers. Number 4, when you make this commitment to selling talent for what it's worth, maybe, just maybe, you will stop keeping score with revenue, and you're going to focus on your operating profit. When profit is expected, you will work harder to keep it. When you are resigned to losing money on talent, you stop trying to control those costs and your margins get even worse. Okay? The game is not revenue. The game is profit. Learn how to make profit. Number 5, the next thing you're going to notice is that your best customers keep doing business with you in spite of your worst fears. Your least favorite customers will become even worse to work with because now they can't manipulate you. It's time to find new customers, and that is a good thing. Number 6, your talent pool. Now that you've raised your rates, your talent pool will improve because you can afford the good people instead of trying to chase people who will work at a price that you think you can afford. Good people need less supervision. They make fewer mistakes. You can staff shows much farther out because that's the only way to get the best people on your gigs. And so if changing your pricing models gives you access to a better talent pool, that's going to actually increase your capacity. You're going to make money at it because you've priced it to make money. Every job can get the right treatment and the right crew because you're not afraid of traveling somebody in because you've accounted for those costs. Your capacity for jobs is going to increase. Save that extra room for ideal customers who will pay what you're worth. Number 7, you're now going to turn your focus on recasting your equipment resources into packages that are used for selling. systems that are used for planning, and kits that make up the systems. Your pricing for projects will become much simpler because your baseline labor and equipment needs will be normalized, and it's not customized. You have standard packages that you use all the time. You're not putting them together because you don't think you can, right? You're going to do this now because you realize it's easier to price a show, and you don't need to be transparent about how you got to the number. You just have to show the customer what it is you're going to do for them. 90% of what you do is not custom. And the 10% that you do that is custom uses stock solutions in a new way, right? Now, I can go on and on about all these things that happen when you change your mindset and commit to this pricing. But the mindset shift when we place appropriate value on talent is a game changer. Look, stop thinking like a rental company. Your job is not to do shows with rental gear. Your job is to get shows done. Old school rental pricing is holding you back. And the first step is to add a comma where it belongs, and that's on talent. If you need more help navigating the ins and outs of scalability, then consider joining an Intentional Success Club and learn from your peers. You'll also get access to my personal coaching for you and your business. My website, trstimson.com. Go there, click on Let's Chat, book an appointment. Let's see how scalability will work for you and see if we can overcome some of those objections you have about adding that comma. Thanks for listening. If you want to find out more about today's episode, go to trstimson.com/podcast, where you'll find the show notes, related links, and tons of other valuable resources. If you haven't already subscribed to the Intentional Success Podcast, please do so, and I'd greatly appreciate if you would rate and review the show. Also, if you think you might be a good fit to work together or want more information about the Stimson Group, I'd love to hear from you. Visit trstimson.com for more information.